The 1980s were a golden age for Japan. Land prices soared, the stock market climbed without end. People genuinely believed the good times would last forever, and it was against this backdrop of unchecked optimism that one company began its meteoric rise. Its name was Toyota Shoji. In just a few short years, Toyota Shoji collected over 200 billion yen from the public and opened more than 70 offices across Japan. But behind the polished image lay something far darker, one of the most audacious fraud operations in Japanese criminal history. This is the story of the Toyota Shoji scandal and everything that led to its shocking end. Toyota Shoji was founded in 1981 in Osaka, Japan. Its founder was a man named Kazuo Nagano. Nagano was in his early 30s at the time, charismatic, ambitious, and extraordinarily persuasive. The very name Toyota Shoji was itself part of the deception. To Japanese ears, Toyota immediately calls to mind Toyota, one of the most trusted brands in the country. But this company had absolutely no connection to Toyota, the automaker. None whatsoever. The name was chosen deliberately to trade on that association and manufacture an air of legitimacy from day one. The product Toyota Shoji sold was called the Pure Gold Family Contract. And on the surface, it was a remarkably compelling offer. Here's how it worked. A customer would purchase pure gold directly from Toyota Shoji, but the physical gold would never actually be handed over to the customer. Instead, the salesperson would explain it this way: keeping valuable gold in your home is a security risk. There's always the danger of theft. We will take full responsibility for storing your gold safely in our dedicated vault. And in place of the actual gold, the customer received a single impressively presented document, a certificate of storage. On top of that, the company promised, using your gold as collateral, we will pay you a high rate of interest every single month. Own a valuable piece of pure gold. Have it stored securely on your behalf, and receive monthly income on top of it all. It was a pitch that seemed almost perfect, and it drew thousands of people in. Toyota Shoji's primary targets were elderly men and women, particularly retirees and pensioners in their 60s and 70s. Their salespeople were trained to be polite, patient, and persistent. They would visit homes, build rapport through small talk, and then slowly introduce the investment pitch. You won't lose a single yen. This is exactly what you need for a comfortable old age. They also dropped false claims of credibility along the way, suggesting ties to major department stores, or implying the product had been approved by the government. And crucially, this was the pre-internet era. There was no quick way to verify any of it. If a well-dressed salesperson showed up at your door with impressive-looking paperwork, it was very easy to take them at their word. So what was really going on behind the scenes? Was Toyota Shoji actually buying gold and storing it on behalf of its customers? The answer was no. All the company ever issued was a piece of paper, the Pure Gold Family Contract Certificate. No gold was purchased, no gold was stored. The money customers handed over was funneled into the company's operating costs and, by many accounts, into lavish spending by its executives. Toyota Shoji also operated along the lines of a classic Ponzi scheme. Money from new investors was used to pay interest to existing ones, creating the illusion that the investment was performing well. As long as new money kept flowing in, the system could sustain itself. But the moment that flow slowed down, it was only a matter of time before everything collapsed. At its peak, Toyota Shoji had more than 70 offices operating throughout Japan. The company employed upwards of 10,000 salespeople, all working under intense pressure to hit their numbers. Many of them were ordinary people who had no idea they were participating in a criminal enterprise. By the time it was over, roughly 30,000 people had been defrauded. The total estimated losses ran to around 200 billion yen, the equivalent of well over $1 billion US. Nothing on this scale had ever happened before in Japan. The victims of this fraud were not abstract statistics. They were real people, many of whom had spent decades saving for their later years, only to have everything taken from them. One woman in her 70s handed over her late husband's entire retirement payout, several million yen, to Toyota Shoji. The interest kept coming every month, so I truly believed it was real, she later said. I never imagined for a second that it could be a scam. A man in another city recalled being introduced to the investment by a neighbor he had known for years. "I trusted him completely," he said. "After this, I couldn't trust anyone anymore." Beyond the financial loss, many victims suffered lasting psychological damage, an erosion of trust that never fully healed. Some, it has been reported, took their own lives in the aftermath of losing everything. There was also a particular cruelty in the way the scheme spread through social networks. Some victims, wanting to share what they believed was a good thing, recommended the investment to family members or close friends. They didn't just lose their money, they lost relationships they had spent a lifetime building. By around 1984, victims began finding each other and speaking out. A formal victims coalition was established, and protest movements spread across the country, gathering signatures and demanding accountability. The media gradually began to pay attention, and the curtain on Toyota Shoji started to lift. The problem was that Japan at the time did not have strong enough legal tools to directly prosecute this kind of financial fraud. The Door-to-Door Sales Act existed, but it had significant gaps, and Toyota Shoji's lawyers knew how to exploit them. Government agencies, including what was then the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, eventually launched investigations. But by then, the company had been operating for years, and it kept going, right up until the very end. It was largely the media, television programs, and newspaper investigations that forced the story into the national spotlight. As more journalists dug into the company's practices, public pressure began to build. And then, in the summer of 1985, the story reached its extraordinary and violent conclusion, June 18, 1985. On that day, an event occurred that stunned the entire nation. Kazuo Nagano, the founder and president of Toyota Shoji, was stabbed to death inside his own apartment. What made this killing unlike any other was that it happened in front of cameras. A large group of victims' coalition members had descended on Nagano's residence that day, demanding answers. Television crews were there too, covering what they expected to be a confrontation between the fraud's victims and its mastermind. The attack was broadcast near live on Japanese television, a kind of footage that had never been seen before and would not easily be forgotten. The two men who carried out the killing were not random attackers. They were themselves victims of Toyota Shoji. They had lost their retirement savings, everything they had worked for, to this man's scheme. Driven to a breaking point, they had decided to take matters into their own hands. With Nagano gone, Toyota Shoji effectively collapsed, but for the 30,000 people who had been defrauded, almost none of their money was ever returned.